Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
Everything must change. But here's what's really changing, is we're changing back to our original nature of wholeness. We are not in this incarnation to get anything or to fix anything. We're here to remember something. We are changing back to who we really are. So I want to speak to you today about returning to your authentic self, returning home to your authentic self by way of recovery. Now, I'm not talking about recovering from anything, recovering from the world crisis right now, or some financial or emotional or health crisis. We're not recovering from anything. I want to talk about the recovery of something. I want to talk about the recovery of that essential part of you that is spoken about in Genesis, where God looked around at everything it had made and said, "Behold, it is good and very good." I want you to just point to yourself or put your hands on your heart right now and say, "I'm good," and say, "I'm good and very good." The universe, as it creates out of itself, in the beginning, it did not look at the ocean and the rivers and the streams and say, "Oh, you weren't perfect today. I think I'll name you unworthy." It didn't look at the cosmos and say, "Oh, you're not acting perfectly today. I think I'll name you undeserving." Or, "I think I'll just lay a little shame on you." And it did not create every creature and every being and look at us and say, "Oh, I think you should be ashamed. You're unworthy. You're not perfect enough. You're not good enough." No, it looked at everything made in its image and likeness outside of itself and named it good and very good, which is our essential nature. But we forget, don't we? We forget that we're good and very good. We forget who we are. And I heard a story a while back about a little boy, maybe 3 years old, and his parents had just come home with his new baby brother. And he pleaded with his parents, "Please let me spend a few moments alone with the baby." And reluctantly, they relented. And as they stood outside the nursery door so that they could listen in and see what their child wanted to say to the infant, they heard him say to the baby, "Will you please tell me about God, because I'm starting to forget? Will you please tell me who I am, because I'm starting to forget?" How many of you have forgotten at times who you are? No, only one of you. So we're not here to recover something. We're not here to recover from anything. We're here to recover our essential nature of wholeness. We are here to rediscover our innate sense of worthiness. Let me hear you say worthiness. We are here to reawaken to the highest version of ourselves, which is God in action and expression in, as, and through you. I remember there was a time in my life when I believed that my worthiness and my value had to do with how I looked, or how much weight I gained or lost, or, where I lived, or whatever. But I came to realize that as long as I was in that sea of forgetfulness and walking around with those heavy life-diminishing illusions of shame and not enoughness, that I couldn't tone it up, soak it up, color it up, no matter how hard I tried. That those insidious illusions of separation were making my conscious decisions from an unconscious place. What is forgetfulness? Forgetting who you really are, that you're good and very good. What does it look like? Sometimes we get so numbed out. Sometimes we're on such an automatic, from such an automatic place that we don't even recognize that the decisions that we're making, the words that we're speaking, the thoughts that we are thinking are coming from this illusion versus from our highest self. So unworthiness, shame, feelings of not being good enough, they cause you to say yes when you really mean no. How many of you have ever done that before? They cause you to have unhealthy boundaries because you're afraid of standing in your truth and standing in who you are. They cause you to accept things in your life that you know on a soul level that you really don't want, that you want something higher, that you want something bigger. But here's what happens. Shame and unworthiness will lie to you and tell you, I have to accept what I can get because if I don't accept this, it's going to be gone. It's a lie. And I remember a long time ago, I was in the process of negotiating with a potential client. And I was feeling really good that day. And I'm, on the phone and we're negotiating and we're talking. And all of a sudden, my energy went like, whoom. And it went right here in my tummy. I call her Boo. I was like, whoa, like why did my energy just leave me? And I put my hand on my tummy and I said, what's the matter, Boo? And you know what she said? She said, I'm scared. I'm scared to ask for what I really want. And I made the decision in that moment, enough. I had hit my bottom. Just like I'd hit my bottom 36 years ago with drugs and alcohol, I hit my emotional bottom with I can't do this anymore. I can't make decisions from this life-diminishing emotion anymore that is an illusion that is not even a part of my identity. I want you to just look at those places in your life where you make those decisions. And I want you to just say, I can't do that anymore. Only one person, you can't do that anymore? Come on, I can't do that anymore. I can't make decisions from that place anymore. And I meant it with all of my heart. I hit my bottom. I cannot live like this anymore. Saying yes when I mean no. Accepting something in my life that I know in my soul that I don't want to accept. But here's what happened. I knew that even though with all my heart I didn't want to live like that anymore, I knew that I had not tapped into the infinite power to be able to do anything differently. Because why? We default to what's familiar. We default to what feels safe, even if it causes us misery when we are not home. And so what I did, I went in my inner sanctuary, I went in my inner closet for hours. And I did my work. I did my soul recovery, the recovery of my soul. I did the work that I want to speak to you about, that I want to teach you about this afternoon at the workshop and talk to you about today. And I stayed in that inner sanctuary, letting go of every false belief, letting go of trauma, letting go of every memory of not feeling good enough and not feeling safe. And when I let all of that go, what was left? Whoa! God. I came out of that inner sanctuary. I made the decision to leave the deal on the table. Say, sometimes you got to leave the deal on the table. Sometimes you got to walk away with nothing. Because here's what I found out. When you walk away with seeming nothingness, in the name of God, in the name of your God self, in the name of your self-value, in the name of your wholeness, that the infinite, unlimited, inexhaustible goodness of the universe will fill that seeming void with the infinite, unlimited something that is beyond your wildest imagination. Can I get an amen? I'm gonna say that again because that felt good. When you walk away with, it seems like it's nothing. You're walking away with nothing. Maybe with the shirt on your back or the light bulb, as I've heard some women in domestic violence situations say, I'm walking away with nothing. It seems like nothing to the finite senses, but in the mind of the infinite, you are making room for the truth of your beingness to take form in tangible experience. And the infinite something, because when you're saying no, I walk away with nothing, what you're actually saying is yes to your real self. And now it has room to come through. Woo, isn't that cool? And it has never failed me. I know we get scared when we've got to give up something. I know that we get scared when we have to release something that we've been dependent on, and we think that it's our source, and we think that it's our supply, and it's like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Let me tell you, I promise you that if you walk away, if you let it go, in the name of I'm good and very good, in the nature of I'm good and very good, in the name of the truth of your beingness, the years that the locusts have eaten will be restored. Prove me now herewith if I will not pour you out a blessing that there is not room to receive. Every time. Every time. And so that's why this work, soul recovery, can you tell I'm a little passionate? I'm so passionate about it because people come to me all the time with health issues, addiction issues, emotional issues, relationship issues. And when we sit down together and unpack what's really going on with them, always, it's because they don't believe that they're good enough. It's because they don't believe that they're worthy. It's because they are stuck in shame and the illusion of separation. That's it. That's it. And when we do that release work of those illusions and they awaken to home, they are transformed by the renewing of their minds. And when you are transformed by the renewing of your mind, your external world becomes new because you're new. That's how it works. That's the law. Nothing personal. I tell my clients, nothing personal. That's just the law. Are we gonna cooperate with it or are we not? Yes? So I've come to look at these I call them emotional addictions. We call them in New Thought habitual thought patterns, belief systems. And that's true, and we are addicted to those particular ways of thinking about ourselves. We have taken on a false identity. We have taken on an identity other than good and very good. And this false identity causes us to procrastinate, causes distraction, causes us to numb out, causes us to avoid, causes us to walk around in chronic anxiety, causes us to zone out on Netflix and social media. How many Netflix zoner-outers here? You click on a movie, you swear you're just clicking on a movie, and then at the end of it, you realize it's a series. Amen? Or you're like, okay, all right, I didn't realize this was a series, but I'm just gonna watch one more. And you come to, about 3 or 4 days later, say numbed out, zoned out, dumbed out. I'm wondering what happened and why you haven't gotten any work done. And then you feel bad about yourself. Because it's the cycle. It's the cycle of unworthiness, of not enoughness. Now you have a reason to feel unworthy, you think. So you keep proving this illusion to yourself over and over and over again because it's the law of attraction. The more you think a thought of yourself, the more you create situations that make you think those thoughts of yourself. I love what Michael Beckwith said. He said that God knows you as itself, good and very good. But the law knows you as you think you are. So it can only mirror back to you what you think you are, even though the truth of you is unlimited, amazing, brilliant, more than enough. Emotional addiction. Let me hear you say it. It's an emotional addiction. And so there might be some of you in here today saying, oh my God, she's going to talk about the steps in addiction. I wish my daughter was here. And so I want to say, maybe your daughter should be here, but this talk is for you, boo. The most powerful roadmap, clear, practical, concise roadmap that I'm aware of that gets us home. We all know that we're one with God, right? But if we can't remember it, if we can't connect to it, what good is it doing us? So we need a path, and I'm not saying this is the only path, but it's a path that has set me free. It bridges the gap between the 12 steps of recovery, and some of you might hear that word and say, oh, I'm turned off already. That has to do with AA. No, the 12 steps of recovery, whether you call it the 12 steps or not, that coming home requires that step one, you get out of the way. Is that true? That you release control, that you know that the level of the problem that created the problem is not the level of your thinking that's going to solve the problem. That's step one. So what's more practical than the 12 steps, bridging the gap between metaphysical teachings and other powerful healing modalities like EFT, where we get into that limbic system, we get into that subconscious mind that has been indoctrinated with false beliefs about ourselves. I call this work soul recovery. Soul recovery not only addresses those addictions that we're so familiar with, like drugs and alcohol and sex addiction and food addiction and all of that, it addresses the addiction behind the addiction. The addiction to the belief that you're separate and apart from good and very good. And I remember when I had my first experience of home. I had my first conscious experience of God. I was sitting in the back of a taxi 36 years ago, demanding that he take me to the drug dealer's house so I could get one more hit. And instead of doing as I asked, he turned to face me in the back seat. The cab driver turned to face me in the back seat, and he looked deeply into my eyes. And he said, young lady, please don't kill yourself today. That was a gift, but that wasn't a big deal to me. I'd heard that a million times before, especially from my 7-year-old daughter who said, Mommy, please don't leave again. The gift in this moment was that in this moment that this person looked into my eyes, the cosmic tumblers fell into place. I pierced the veil of illusion, and I caught a glimpse of me. I caught a glimpse. Can you just imagine what it feels like to have absolutely no fear? None, no pain, no worries, complete freedom, complete bliss. I caught it in that instant. And I knew that it was home, and I knew that I had never left, but I was having a dream that I had left. And I became homesick. It's like, oh my God. Because once you know, you can't unknow. Once you've experienced the presence of God in, as, and through you, you can't unknow it. You can pretend that you don't know it, but you can't unknow it. And that was the beginning of my long journey of emotional and spiritual recovery. Recovery from emotional addiction and the recovery of my innate nature of wholeness. So, an addiction is when you are so hardwired to a belief system, a thought pattern, or a way of being that you feel like you're in bondage and enslaved to it. No matter how much you want to change it, you can't seem to change it. How many of you have had that experience? Yeah, and that can be pretty debilitating, but there is a solution. There is an answer. And the first step of your recovery, the first step to your path to home, is admitting personal powerlessness. It doesn't mean you're powerless. It means the part of you that created this false identity is powerless. Can fear heal fear? No. So when we get out of the way by admitting of myself, as Jesus the Christ said, of myself I can do nothing. And as we get out of the way, we make a way for the infinite power within us that can do through you, in you, as you, what you've never been able to do for yourself. Are you ready for something to be done through you that you've never been able to do for yourself? Take a moment. I want you to think about it. Are you tired of fighting your own mind? Are you tired of trying to get home without a roadmap? Are you tired of the confusion and the overwhelm? You're ready. You're ready for this power that is greater than you. In the second step, this power that is greater than you, yes, it is, yet it is you. To restore you to sanity. Sanity is reality. Sanity is who you really are. Your bliss, your joy, your gratitude, your success, your health, your well-beingness. That's sanity. That's reality. So we come to believe that a power greater than our fear, greater than our trauma, greater than our past can restore us, and you can't be restored back to something you never had in the first place. So you are restored to good and very good. And then you make a decision. And sometimes you got to make that decision over and over and over and over and over again to turn your limited will, your little life, over to the care of this infinite presence and power within you as you understand it. And I like to say, if the God of your understanding isn't working for you, then it's time to get a new God, or it's time to get a new understanding. Amen? And then we continue with the process of compassionate accountability, being accountable for your thoughts and your mistakes. Waking up to your authentic self, waking up to that part of you that is absolutely free, even in your messiness. Waking up to that part of you that radically accepts every aspect of your beingness. Waking up to that part of you that forgives you and loves you unconditionally. And that brings me, as I come to a close, that brings me to Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, where she woke up. When she woke up, she realized she'd never gone on a journey. She woke up in her own bed, safe and sound all the time. But her dream had taken her on this journey. And then she returned home in consciousness and awakened to her safety, awakened to who she really was. And so that's what we're here to do. We're here to unlearn the lie. We're here to awaken, recover, and rediscover the gold, home, who we really are. So I'm loving you and blessing you today, as I know that I've planted a seed for you, whether you're ready to do anything with it or not, of wow, there's a part of me, within me, that is waiting for me to come home and be the me that I imagined as a kid, the dreams that I imagined as a kid. They're who I am. They're who I really am. So right now, let's just take a breath. Inhaling deeply and exhale on peace. In fact, I want you to just tap right here in your third eye. I want you to inhale deeply. Let go. Letting go of all the stress, all the concerns for your life. Letting go of any judgment you've ever held about yourself or about anyone else. And you awaken to this place called home that is pure spirit, divine life, the infinite, in, as, and through you, that is only harmony, that is only grace, that is peace, that is divine order, that is the peace that passeth understanding, that is the way when there appears to be no way. It is that place within you that fills the void with love and goodness beyond your limited imagination, if you but let it, if you just but allow it. And so I am knowing that this presence and power makes a way in, as, and through us to surrender and to give way to who we really are. We don't have to make ourselves surrender. That's being in the way. We release and allow the surrender to happen within us because of our sincere desire to know our oneness, our wholeness, our enoughness, our innate sense of safety. Can I get an amen to just feeling safe in your own body? This is our birthright. This is our divine inheritance. This is the truth that sets us free. And I claim this, I declare this, I know this, I stand in this for each and every beingness watching on live stream and in the sanctuary and in the world, that an awakening to home is happening. I am grateful and I am thankful for this word spoken. I am grateful for the open and receptive hearts and souls. I am grateful that this word has opened something in somebody to say, yes, I'm ready to be the real me. And I release this word, this consciousness, this intention into the law, knowing that it returns fulfilled, pressed down, running over for each and every one of us. Amen. And so it is. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.